Hello everyone, Storm 101 here. Today we'll be tracking possibly a winter storm threat that may be happening across portions of the northeastern United States, and even back as far south as around the Tennessee Valley. Some of these areas may actually see a little bit of a winter storm threat around Super Bowl time frame, especially for this weekend. And we're also going to be tracking a very active pattern. Something that's been a big change with the models. Now, models so far been kind of all over the place and stuff like that, but models are indicating a pretty active pattern for nearly most of next week for the eastern United States here. We'll also talk about a little bit about the long range here because I want to show you guys something really interesting at long range by the Climate Prediction Center. So let's go ahead and get started with the potential winter storm. Right now we got a winter storm going on across portions of the Midwest. There has been blizzard conditions back in Iowa, and a lot of bad stuff has happened over there, unfortunately. Ex- excuse me, accident-wise, had a big pile up on Interstate 80, unfortunately. At least no one was hurt. At least to what I was thinking here. At least for what I've heard, not many people were hurt or anything like that, which is good, or nobody got killed. But anyways, this is going to be starting to move out, really, when we get into Friday. And as we kind of continue on here, so we're going to skip by that system pretty much. It could bring some snow across uh, the northeastern United States, but it ain't going to be a whole lot. But I want to pay attention to this. So we're going to have two pieces of energy. You got one starting to build up around the Gulf of Mexico. Got another one building right here. Malls are actually getting a better agreement that this is trending back toward a little bit of a stronger system. This system here, it's going to transfer its energy to this one, so it's a pretty similar setup here. This one's going to go pretty much about generally this direction. This one here will go something like that as well. And this one here will be weakening. And this one here will be strengthening on the Gulf Coast. And let me show you guys how this plays out. Now this does not go for the entire event, just to keep in mind. So we got an upper level low, bringing a decent amount of snow across Illinois and Missouri. But look at this down here. Got quite a bit of moisture going on. And look right here. In the mountains of southeastern Kentucky, western Virginia, western North Carolina, and eastern Tennessee, starting to see some snow. And you're going to see the snow shield expand with time here. You guys will see that. And this is about as far as it can go, but you got your low passing over the Smoky Mountains here with a wave of moderate to heavy snow across a good chunk of Virginia, West Virginia, Maryland into Delaware. Eventually just going to get into some of those same areas that's got hit hard by the last winter storm they had. You can see how the snow shield kind of expands here as well. And we'll take a look to those snowfall mounts from the high-res NAM. And keep in mind, this does not go for any entire event. You can see here we got pretty decent snowfall mounts. You got those higher elevations picking up at least 6 inches of snow, which is a possibility, but in those lower elevations could be anywhere from 1 to maybe 3 inches of snow. But keep in mind, the event's not over yet. In some of these places it's still snowing. So there's likely to be higher amounts in some of those areas. So let's take a look to the original NAM that goes pretty much throughout the entire event. And this is Saturday evening. Got your low here, got an upper level low right here. And it's going to track this way. Got a pretty... Now this is a larger band of snow. It's a little bit larger. It's a little bit healthier. It's a little bit more widespread. And it actually includes more of southern Kentucky and even back as far west as around Nashville as well. And watch how this is kind of plays out here. You can see here, it starts to deepen here. Your upper level low starts to dissipate somewhere in around the Great Lakes. And look at this band of heavy snow. Again, some of the same areas like New York City. On the last winter storm, I think they had a brand new record of the most snow ever in Central Park history, I think. At least for what I've heard. And you know that storm, this was a big deal if you get a record around there. And then it kind of continues off, bringing in some snow across Maine here. And that's into Sunday night into Monday morning. And these are the snowfall amounts with this. You can see here, I got a pretty good swath of 6+ inches of snow for areas in the purple. From really eastern Tennessee all the way up into, it gets off the screen, but all the way up into southeastern Maine, with some areas picking up a little over a foot in some areas, which the areas that have a better chance of that will be in the higher elevations. But yeah, this is something to watch here closely here as well. And let's look into the Harvest Canadian, which doesn't really show much of any snow at all with this system. But I think it's kind of an outlier because really the GFS and I think the European model as well both both show the system as well. You can see here not much snow, but I think this is going to change though. I think it's going to trend towards what the other models are showing. But something I really did notice, and that's from the GFS ensembles here. Now, ignore this. I mean, 3 inches of snow, Western Kentucky, not going to happen. But continuing on here, this is your mean snowfall accumulations by all 20 members. You can see a pretty decent swath of some areas picking up really anywhere from 2 to 4, maybe 5 inches of snow in some of these regions here. So there's not really a good agreement with this type of setup here. But what I've noticed here with this here is that there's been a little bit of a northwest shift with it. Some malls actually have the winter storm like more in these regions than these regions over here. So that's something to watch here because what's been a little bit common this winter here is really when you're a couple days out, malls start to trend to the northwest. So areas in the northwest, if we're forecast right now, needs to watch this as well. So anybody really northwest of this may need to watch this closely here. But we'll have a better idea with this as we get closer to the event. But that's just something interesting one to note. And here's where areas do have a winter storm threat from this system here. And you know what? It's not, over a large area when you think about this. I mean, really, but it is for a lot of people. I mean, this includes New York City, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C. again, which hopefully this won't be a big buzz for Washington, D.C., but we'll see about that. Even for Knoxville, Tennessee, which they haven't seen a winter storm so far this uh, winter season, so this actually their good opportunity to get a winter storm. And I think it's a similar way for Nashville, or I meant Asheville. Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's probably about as far south the winter storm threat's going to go. As we continue up to the northwest, it does include Boston, Providence as well, even Albany, New York. So it does include some big cities within this region here. Good news is this will be moving fast as well. So this is going to be happening for less a day than what was like the last system. They've been getting snow for at least a day or two across some of these regions here. But yeah, if you guys are in the blue area here, just watch out for the potential for a winter storm. And the timing of this is Saturday evening into Sunday night is the timing with this as of right now. Alright, so that's that system out of the way. We'll probably have another update on that maybe tomorrow, maybe Saturday. We'll see. But anyways, let's take a look into the GFS. And here comes your first system right here. You see your low is actually pretty far off the coast here. It's definitely a little bit different. You got pretty good swath of snow here across some of the same areas there. And then you can see how it deepens and it kind of moves away. But let's kind of look after that system there. Now this is where the confidence gets pretty low. I mean, models have been kind of all over the place, and this is now starting to show up with a decent chunk of models. Let's start off with this here. I mean, GFS has been pretty consistent with this. There may be a chance for some ice problems really across Kentucky, maybe into West Virginia. Maybe a chance for snow north of that. We're going to watch for that. I mean, the Canadian model does not show this at all. European model has a little bit further north with this. which I'll show you guys the Canadian European model in a moment. Well, let's actually look at that now. Maybe a good time. And this is going to take a couple moments to load. But there goes that system there. I think it's just an outlier at this point. I mean, this is pretty much the only model that's showing this at this point. And I think the Canadian model's kind of getting worse now during the winter over time, so yeah. So here's Tuesday here. Actually, it's coming in a little bit earlier, a little bit faster. It's also a little bit further north, similar track to what the European model has, so the timing is a little bit off. So it still shows it doesn't really show much of an ice threat, but it does show at least a snow threat for portions of Illinois, Ohio, Indiana, and maybe into Michigan. Or some of those, what I've realized around Detroit, Michigan, they have not seen a winter storm in a while either, so that's something interesting to note there. If we look at the European model with the same system, it's definitely similar. It's a little bit further north. Your low does go kind of along the Ohio River with a decent amount of snow north of it, but doesn't look to be a too big of a deal right now. But the GFS model actually has a little bit further south, showing more of ice potential. And it's been consistent with this for the past few runs, so we're going to see what's going to happen there. And let this load for a little bit. And now the uncertainty is going to get pretty high at this point. So you get another low that kind of goes along Alabama and Georgia. You got a big storm, winter storm here, even an ice storm in some of those regions there. And it moves up into the northeast, and oh boy, here we go. Very, very cold air. Now, it seems like the model's a bit delaying this. I mean, those are some very low thickness values, and that's going to lead to some very cold temperatures. I mean, this is pretty much the polar vortex at this point. Your 540 line as far south as the Alabama and Florida border there. So it's going to go pretty far south. I mean, the polar vortex, some of that cold air, yeah, it's going to be a big deal. If we look into the Canadian model with this, it doesn't show much of anything either. I mean, it doesn't really show much of anything. So the uncertainty is going to be pretty high, but it also, well, it actually doesn't show much of a cold plunge at all. Let's look into the European model and see what it says with this. Yeah, it's actually showing something similar to what GFS is showing. Shows an ice storm a little bit further south. Actually includes a pretty decent chunk of the deep south. I mean, Louisiana, eastern Texas, Mississippi, up into Tennessee. There goes another wave of freezing rain there. And then here comes some very cold air. And that's a 1047 millibar high, which is a pretty strong high, bringing in some pretty cold air into the eastern United States here. Really, the only place that's going to be mild in the United States around this time frame is really going to be the Southwest, and that is it. I mean, everybody else is just going to get pretty cold with this. So it's something to watch here, and that's when it kind of gets to this fantasy run from the GFS there. Let's go back to the GFS ensembles here. And we'll take a look too about ensemble precipitation type. So here goes this first storm. You can see here about all the models pretty much do agree, except for at least a couple, but the majority of them, like these here, which I'll check mark them to where they pretty much agree with, which at least half of them agree with that solution. That actually doesn't, that doesn't, that does, yep, yep, yeah, we'll count that, yep, yep, and yep, I guess. So only two models here just disagree with this out of 20. So that's a pretty good agreement there with that system. And as we move into the next system, like the GFS was showing with some of the ice storm potential, a lot of these members are actually pretty similar to the GFS model. I mean, you got this one, this one. I mean, some of these are a little bit north, but they are a little bit similar to the GFS. Not those. Yep, 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 yep. That's pretty far north. That's actually it's pretty far south. Looks like it's coming a little bit earlier. Nope. Yep, 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 Yep. 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 And yep. So yeah, ignoring number 20 is been glitched out for the past several weeks. I don't know what happened to that model. I mean, to be honest with you, but generally speaking, I mean, most of the GFS ensembles do agree to be similar to the GFS, which we do have some agreement with that. And this is where the uncertainty comes in. This is Friday, and this is something everybody's probably going to be watching for. Is Friday of next week. So this is basically 1 week out from now. And look at this. I mean, this could be pretty bad, but this can likely back off. We're just going to see what's going to happen here. I mean, there's a lot of time to change with this. I mean, that shows a big storm. Big storm. Nope. Nope. Well, actually, that may come in a little bit late. That shows a big storm. I mean, this that shows a storm system. But generally speaking, at least, well, about half of these do show a storm system around Friday. The only difference here is it's going to be really the intensity here and the timing of this. As we kind of go through the event here, I mean, later down the road, you can see here. Now, this is getting to Saturday morning, and a couple of these malls are a little bit late, and one or two of them show more lows coming behind that. I mean, if that's correct, I mean, if some of these members are correct, showing multiple lows going over some of the similar regions, I mean, north of that, man, they're going to get slammed with multiple winter storms if that verifies. But let's link it to the mean snowfall accumulations. Now, this is all members, so 20 members in a 10-to-1 ratio. And really, the better agreement is really in the purples. I mean, the purple's the 6+ inches of snow, and this is just the mean. And you can see here, if you're kind of in this dark blue and purple, yeah, you're looking at a pretty active pattern, which you can see here. It's for a decent amount of people. So really, we're gonna watch for some of these areas pretty closely for a decent amount, maybe a decent amount of snow for some people, but it's just getting far out, and there's gonna be a lot of uncertainty around that time frame. But we'll be watching that closely for the next several days. And the last thing I want to take a look at too is the Climate Prediction Center, and I'll tell you what, it's gonna get really cold. Now this is for February 10th through the 14th, which does include Valentine's Day. That's a 90 to pretty much 100% chance of below average temperatures, if I'm correct. Yeah. Yep, it does look to be. Now this is 70, well, that's actually about around 80%, 70, 60, 50, 40, and then 33%. I mean, really anybody that's like in the 60% is pretty much in a pretty good confidence to see below average temperatures, really general. And you can see very few areas have a chance for mild temperatures. I mean, slightly above average temperatures seems like a possibility for portions of the desert southwest and southern Florida as well. This is 8 to 14 days. You can see a little bit similar, but the warmth is starting to take a little bit more shape in around California. But most of the United States is likely to be below average. I mean, that is for a lot of people, that's a chance for below average temperatures. Now, in these regions right in here, in these blue colors right in here, probably has the better opportunity to see below average temperatures. Maybe even a chance for well below average temperatures. And let's take a look into the precipitation. Now, this is the next 6 to 10 days. Dry along the west coast, dry around the Great Lakes and Midwest and to the interior Northeast, wet across the Southeast, and maybe even potentially for the Eastern Rockies. And in 8 to 14 days, it's a little bit different. Wet across Southeast, dry really from the Lower Hall Valley down to the Central Plains and the desert Southwest, Also a little bit wetter than normal across the northern plains and the northern Rockies as well. And the last thing we're going to take a look at too is the probability outlook. This is something I've never seen before, which some of you guys probably know, some of you guys probably don't, but that's what I'm going to show you. But let's first take a look to this. So areas in this dark blue, that's a high risk for well below average temperatures, which they got pretty good confidence with that, which is over a pretty large region. Areas in dark blue, that's where you have moderate confidence for some well below average temperatures. And areas in the lighter blue, that's a slight risk for well below average temperatures, which we don't really have a whole lot of confidence in that region. But let's look right in here. This area right in here, this is really interesting. Never seen this before. Right in this region here, that is a slight risk for heavy snow. Heavy snow, yeah, that's a slight risk for heavy snow. What's even crazy about it, it even goes as far south as central Alabama. That's pretty crazy to think about it by the Climate Prediction Center. I mean, this gets to show you with some of the confidence here and how active the pattern can be within some of these regions here. So this is something we're going to watch pretty closely here. And it definitely looks like we're going to have some very cold weather coming for a lot of people as well. So really, mid-February is looking to be probably the harshest part of winter this year, if it verifies. You know, things can still change. And here's this map here. This is with the moderate and the high risk. And you can see here, everybody in this uh, blue area in here has a better opportunity to see much below average temperatures. But this is something we'll be watching closely. We'll likely have more updates on this pretty soon. But anyways, guys, this is Artic for you guys today. Hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you guys like this video, hit that like button. If you really do like my channel, hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell notifications so you never miss an upload. If you guys have questions about this, leave it in the comment section down below. I'll answer you guys' questions. I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.